folks, welcome you all to yet another podcast of mine. Another Friday has caught up with us, people. Yes, it has. And here we are, yet again, about to talk about Dead Space Remake. Seems to be a weekly thing. I think I got a 1 week off last week from not talking about Dead Space Remake. However, it's quite exciting stuff, people, so we should talk about it. Yes, we should. But expect a slightly shorter podcast this week because I really don't have a huge amount in the list. It's just Dead Space and a couple of other items. But I did want to talk a little bit about what I've been recording and stuff on the channel. So if you are here for the big tagline, which is Dead Space Remake Gameplay and Comparisons, then as always I will put the time codes in the description below and you can jump straight to that part or whatever part you want to see in the podcast. You can go straight there. If you don't want to hear me rambling on like I do, let me say this before we do anything else, people, and let me say no more. Flaggins up to you all. Can't actually see. Yeah, there we go. Flaggins up. I like showing me glass off still. From Aaron Brew for my 50th, people. Level 50 gamer. Oh, what? That's nice. So this week, yes, we will get to Dead Space soon enough, people. And as I say, if you want to go straight there, just jump to the time code. That's absolutely fine. My week's been pretty good. All my exercise has been going really well for a long time now, for months and months. I've gone from between that and the sort of, well, it's kind of a mix of keeping from Sunday through to Thursday, I keep things at 1,200 calories or less, unless it's a running day. If I go for a run at lunchtime, I'll have a banana, people. I get an extra banana just before I go for my run. Just for a bit of energy, people. When you're running 8.5k, or 10k on a Sunday, a banana's not going to do any damage whatsoever. And then I'm kind of also doing intermittent fasting because what I'm doing is I don't eat at all from when I get up in the morning until about 4, or any time after 4, basically, I start eating. Sort of an early dinner or whatever. And then anything I do after 4 just has to stay under 1,200 calories. So that's basically what I've been doing through. And I could have achieved all of this a lot quicker if I'd just given up my Friday flaggins and not had my cheat day on a Saturday where I just kind of do what I like. But I didn't want to go down that road of not having anything to look forward to every week. So, I thought, I wasn't obesely overweight or anything, but I was overweight. If I looked at if I look at the BMI thing, which I know BMI isn't everything, but your body mass index is still important. And my body mass index was ridiculously high. So I was at around 14 stone, and my bracket of fair weight, and I know people will say, there's nothing on you, I've never seen you overweight on a video, but the thing is, it doesn't always show where the weight is the problem. I always get it around the chest and the waist, so in a video like this you tend not to see an awful lot of it. My face doesn't always, my face does look thinner than it did in the past, but I don't recall ever having a particularly chubby face, so I think people just don't see it where it's visually obvious to them. So I was at 14 stone, and for my height, which is 5'11", my BMI should be somewhere between, I think it's 12, 11 and 11.5. 11.5 is far too low. I wouldn't want to go that thin. So I'm now at 12.9 as of last week, and I've managed to keep that for this week. But I had bank holiday weekend last weekend. I did a double binge, so I didn't actually make any progress this week. And plus, when you get to a certain point when you're shedding weight, it does get a lot tougher. So you got to be more stringent as you get to those lower weights. So that's fine. But if I keep to what I was doing now for the next couple of weeks, my target is 12.5. That kind of gets me into the sort of middle area of the green bar for me. So, but I am now, for the first time in probably since my early 40s, at what they classify as a healthy weight. So I'm just aiming to keep myself in there. And the exercise I've been doing, I'll do a run one day, a swim the next, and that's what I've been doing. So basically I do about, if it's through the week, I'll do 50 to 60 lengths. Kilometers is about 1,500 kilometers, I think. If it's 60, I might be getting that slightly wrong, but thereabouts. So I'll do either an 8.5k or the swim, depending on, I just alternate the days. And if it's a Sunday, well, Saturday I do sod all because it's my rest day, my rest and binge day. If it's a Sunday, I'll do both, and I'll do it a 10k run instead of an 8.5. So I go for the swim come back, get the swimming, the running stuff on, and then go for a run as well. So that's what I've been up to. I'm feeling great, feeling really, really good. The swimming kind of then starts, toning things up a little bit. I just do the breaststroke, people. We all like a bit of breaststroke, am I right? No need for that motion, Steve. So week-wise, this week's been as good as the previous God knows how many weeks now. I must have been doing this for about 3 months now, and I feel great. So I'm just going to I'll keep the exercise going anyway, long term. But from the diet perspective, I want to hit that 12.5 mark, and then once I hit that, I'll start allowing myself. I might push it up to 1,500 in the day, and then see where we are after that. So there you are. That is it. I'm still slightly worried about the microphone after last week's little miss. Anyone who watched the podcast last week, right at the very end for the last 5 minutes, you got the audio from the camcorder because something happened, and I don't know whether it was because I fiddled with the cable a little bit or what, but the laptop had a message on it saying you changed microphones. I was like, no, I didn't. So that's why I don't know what happened. And there's nothing on screen to tell me while I'm recording because of these screenshots. Well, I've got the slideshow going on the laptop, which is also doing the recording of the microphone, but because that's churning away, all I can see on the laptop is these images. So I can't actually see if anything's gone wrong to pause it. So something I might have to think about. But I think you guys like these images, so I don't want to stop doing them. Bit of interest's sake. So outside of my exercise, recording for the channel has been... I've done a bit of gameplay this week, but only toward the tail end, and that was yesterday when I decided that I was going to finally record the last of Dead Space playthrough, which I've been doing. I know it's not been the most popular of playthroughs, but there has been a hardcore set of people that have been really enjoying me doing them, so I really wanted to see it through, and I knew that if I was doing them in 2-hour segments, then I would get through it pretty swiftly, so that's exactly what's happened. I recorded... I recorded them both back to back actually yesterday night. I did the first one expecting to finish it and then thought, hang on a minute, there's a bit more than I remember. I seem to think that there was 10 chapters in the first one and there was 12, which is making me think that, because I feel like one of them's only got 10 chapters, but anyway. So there was 2 parts and they were both about equally as long, and there was about a good, nearly 2 hours apiece to see through tail end of chapter 10, then 11 and 12. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I really did. And that was on hard mode. If you didn't know I was doing it, you can go and look that out. The penultimate part was up at 11 a.m. this morning in British summertime. And the next part, the finale, will be up tomorrow at 8 a.m. BST. So if you are a person that is up at somewhere in America, you may well be able to watch that at midnight. I don't know, depending on what the time differences are. You've got about 25 different time zones over there, you know what I mean? And other places in the world. It's all mind-boggling to me, people. I'm just a grunt. I don't know about such things. But there you are. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed doing them, and I'm just super stoked for the remake. I'm more and more stoked for the remake now. And I felt like I finally, when I started the game, I was like, Jesus, because I played it on hard mode and I thought, this is tougher than I remember. Then I've got a groove on, and then we got stockpiling lots of stuff, and then we managed to damage out the weapons and stuff. And then this is not really spoilers because this is stuff that happened early on. And then we got into a groove stockpiling stuff, and then we hit a couple of bosses, or one big boss certainly, and then I was empty of everything, and it took ages to get stocked up. But by these episodes you're about to watch, woo, we're doing pretty well, people. Yes, we are. So yeah, it's a bit of a shame that it's only completing the game that kind of unlocks the... in retrospect, I should have kept recording until the credit... Well, not for you to watch the credits, but for me to have spliced it where I say, where the credits start, and then just show you what happens at the end of the credits, because it pops up with military suit achieved, 10 free nodes, all this sort of stuff you can do with your next New Game Plus sort of thing. And the military suit's really cool, and it is a completely different suit to... it was really good in the first one, because I like the fact it was the one suit, and every time you upgraded it, you just got more and more metal attached to it, and little things changed here and there. So it was always an upgrade to the suit, even though you were picking up a level 3 suit, a level 4 suit, or whatever. You felt like it was just getting upgraded more than anything else. And it was quite a cool idea. The problem is it does lack interest. And it got crazier and crazier with the suits as the games went on. The second one was okay. Well, the second one was the only part of the second game that drove me up the fucking wall was the god-awful fucking suit they make you play in for God knows how long. I mean, you start off in a half-decent one. I think it's the level 3 suit I'm talking about. Someone can correct me. And it's like a deep-sea diving suit with a massive fucking tank on the back of you for oxygen. I mean, it looks fucking horrible. And then force you to play it, play the game for fucking ages. I'm swearing a lot of people, but they do fucking ages with that bloody suit on. I mean, I forgot how annoying it was until I played it through with Aaron Brew, because we did them back to back when I went up 3-4 weeks back, and I think it was 3. It's only 3 weeks, I think. But it's so annoying. Oh God! I mean, like, for the love of God, like, don't make a shit suit and force people to wear it for so long in a game. And the thing is, you can't really avoid it. Because the extra protection, I suppose you could kind of say, well, fine, I'll just not worry about it if you're decent enough at the game. But it's the inventory slots that come with it that are important. You can't avoid it because you need the inventory slots. So, yeah, I mean, it was really infuriating. But I think the annoying part is, I think they fucking did it on purpose to make you go and buy suits from the shop. Because it was only when I was fiddling around last night after I'd finished Dead Space 1 that I remembered about the store in Dead Space 2. Because I was moving it onto the fast drive. And yes, this is coming up, people. For those of you who want me to do Dead Space 2, I have got an itch for it. But I will be doing RPG stuff first and in between, so don't worry. For those people that aren't interested in Dead Space. But yeah, I get the distinct impression it was to make you go and purchase stuff from the store. And in fact, I must have purchased stuff ages ago, because it turns out that I've got loads of additions on that particular install that I've got, because there was an online pass for multiplayer on it, which was not great anyway. And you know, that's when things started to look a bit. I mean, the game was fantastic, don't get me wrong, but that's when things you got a sniff of the fact that, oh God, what is 3 going to be like if this is them testing the water for online stuff? And it was an absolute shit show of in-game purchasing and stuff. But anyway, I may be able to do this. If I do the playthrough on 2, then it looks like I'll be able to not have to rely on that suit, which would be quite good. So I can't remember what they come with, but I've got like a hazard pack, was it? And then something else. And it came with suits that you can get pretty much straight away, I think. So yeah, we'll see. But it was the only annoying part of the game. It's fucking horrible, that suit, really. I'm going to swear again just for the sheer hell of it, people. So anyway, it was nice to see the 2 parts through. It was great to get it finished and have it up on the channel. And you know what's going to happen now? Now that I finished it, they'll do some sort of FPS patch for it and do it 60 FPS. I would love that. I'd love to see that game at 60 FPS. Oh, it'd be beautiful. Yes, it would. So yeah, I'm super stoked for it. So, going on to what I'm going to do next on the channel, yes, I'm absolutely of a mind to be carrying on into Dead Space 2. So I've now shifted it, because I have loads of the back compat stuff on the external hard drive on the Series X, just like I did on the One X, because I didn't have to reinstall anything. You basically unplugged it from unplugged the external drive where all the back compat games were on the One X, plugged it into the Series X, and it just knew they were there. But of course, when we're doing stuff, you know, proper, or if I'm going to play them, I just shovel them from there into the internal drive, and then you get all the super speeds, you know, added bonuses and stuff. So I moved Dead Space 1 back to the external and put Dead Space 2 on the internal. So it's there, prepped, ready, primed, all the downloads of the extra packs and stuff, made sure they were there. So it is ready. And I'm not sure when I'll start recording that yet, but I'll not leave it too long, I don't think. But I do want to get into something RPG, and I still want to at least do a few parts of some of the new games that have come out. Might be worth doing a couple of episodes of Psychonauts just to let people see how good it is, because it is getting really. I think it's got 87 on Metacritic. It's done really well for itself. I expected it to as well. I really want to do a couple of parts of The Ascent and Death's Door. So, you know, but at the same time, I'd quite like to get stuck quite meatily into a decent RPG. And there's been a few people asking me to do some Dark Souls 3, which we talk about often, but it's one of those I'm always put off by because of the amount of time it takes to make one episode. So we'll see what happens. I did have more intent of doing more Dragon Age Inquisition as well at 60 FPS on the FPS boost mode. So it's all there for us to think about. Somebody was asking me questions about Divinity Original Sin, and I would just I'd love it if somebody if they would get either an FPS boost on those games or patch it so that the new gen consoles can play them at 60 FPS, because the minute they do, I would absolutely try and do a lot of episodes on that, if not a full playthrough, because I got pretty far into the second one and then I tailed away from it at some point. The first one, I nearly finished the first one as well. I was really annoyed with myself for not finishing it because we got really far in it. I've lost count of the number of people that have clearly watched it a long time after I recorded it and went, no, where's the end of the game? So I got a lot of help with that first game from a lot of people. Well, a few people, I should say, on the channel at the time, whose names I'll forget. I apologise, but yeah. I mean, there was a lot of, because it's one of those games you've really got to use your noggin for. You know, like you can't. It doesn't point you anywhere. It doesn't. I mean, you get the weakest of directions to go in, but you've got to talk to everyone. You've got to explore everywhere, look everywhere. I mean, it really is one of those games you've got to try and figure stuff out for yourself as much as you can. So yeah, I mean, now that I've got my head around it, I didn't find the second one quite as a challenge. And the battles are tough. Like even on normal, Jesus Christ, they are tough battles. Like, but I love them. They're so good. Like the way that they use the elements in those games and stuff, and they're also co-op as well, so you can play it with a companion or a friend. And so yeah, I mean, anyway, I've got an itch to be playing something RPG, and if we do Dead Space 2, then I might try and mix it with an RPG game. I've still got I was playing Dead Island off camera. I've talked about it on podcast before, but I was playing it off camera about a month, it might be just over a month ago. I think I'm about to hit Act 4, and I'm pretty sure that's the final act, but I'm really far into it. So I was off camera. I wasn't doing it on camera, but it was just something I was enjoying, and I really want to get back and finish that game. It looks superb on the FPS boost mode as well. Fantastic. Anyway, should we talk about the Dead Space Remake presentation that they did? Well, it wasn't really a presentation, was it? It was more of a Twitch chit-chat they did, showing off kind of what I think what they're trying to do here is, well, they are, because I've said they are. They're trying to get the community's feedback while they develop the game, so that they know that what they're doing is what people want. So by doing what they're doing and drip feeding as early, I mean, this is really very, very pre-alpha stuff that they're showing us. But in doing that, I think they want to avoid doing stuff that's going to piss off the community, because it's got such a love. Certainly Dead Space 1 and 2 have got are so well adored by the fans. They don't want to go and fuck it up. And listening to this presentation, I mean, there was two of the devs were talking through it, and then they had a couple of YouTube/Twitch people on there who, to be honest with you, I don't know that was actually required. I mean, I think the reason that they did that was because those two people were part of this community of Dead Space fans that they're asking for constant feedback from. So it was kind of understandable from that point of view while they were there. But I think in retrospect, just looking at the presentation itself, I think I would have been more than happy just with the two guys talking about the game and what they'd done. I didn't really need the two other people asking them questions, because they were preempted questions anyway. You could have just said, we've got these questions and we'll talk through them. But hey, you know, it made it a kind of a community thing, I guess. You know, I'm not downing anybody. Everybody was fine on it, but I just, you know, I was more interested in hearing what the devs had to say more than anything else. To be fair to the other two, it wasn't like they tried to take over or anything. They really just did keep the, you know, that segment, this segment, that segment. Show us this, show us that, show us the next thing, and can you answer these questions, sort of thing, you know? So yeah, and they confirmed that there's definitely not going to be any in-game purchasing or any loot stuff or anything like that. It's all going to be like, you know, I mean, they really are. EA are just letting they clearly learnt their lesson from Jedi Fallen Order. So, they're getting given the freedom to make a single player game and be exactly that, which is a single player game. So yeah, so that was confirmed, which is really, really good. But anyway, going into the action, well, the comparisons and the action itself. I mean, this was a few days back that I watched it, and I didn't get an opportunity to watch it again before I went into this podcast, people. But I'm pretty sure the first comparison we saw was it was Isaac, just sort of. Pretty sure he was just stood in a random hallway. But you looked at Isaac, and they did say, now bear in mind, what I'll do with this footage is, because what they did in the stream was, you never got any, as far as I remember, you never got any full screen images. It was always the game's here and then the people were around it. So what I might try and do is zoom in on it a little bit, just so you can see the footage. So it won't be at its crystal clear best, but I'll try and sort of cut out the people so that you can at least see the comparisons a bit better and the footage a bit better. Because you'll already have my face in the top right hand corner. So yeah, we'll see how we go with that. I'll see how it looks when I'm editing it as to how well I can kind of push this stuff towards you. But the first thing was Isaac sort of in his new suit. And you can tell almost immediately from the comparison. I mean, this game holds up super well, right? I mean, I've just been playing it and I'm not sitting there thinking, God, this is a last gen game. In fact, it's 2 gens old. You know what I mean? It's 2 gens old and it still holds up. So, but when you see it in direct comparison to what the new generation of graphics can do, like they've just shown us here, I mean, the difference is stunning. Like the material on his suit, the metallic elements of his suit, the armor that we were just talking about earlier, the sheen on the helm and all of that sort of stuff, even the color of the spine with the health bar on it and the stasis, that sort of stuff. I mean, it just looks really, really, really realistic. Like it's not until you see a direct comparison like that you realize just how far we've come, and it does look really awesome. And they did say this is a really early Isaac and they've got a lot of polishing that they want to do. So if that's what we're getting now in a pre-alpha kind of, this is what we're on with kind of thing, then wow. I mean, the one thing I did notice was it was really sticky when it was panning around and stuff, but that's fine. That I'm sure while they're in this really early stage of stuff, that until they decide everything and what gets reined in, what can go full pelt, it will look a little bit sticky. Also, the streaming itself was probably only 30 frames per second anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered whether they had done a 60 FPS. But there is no doubt in my mind that game is going to come out at 60 FPS. That's the kind of game, in fact, that could be 60 FPS 4K. Because even though they're going to expand it a little bit, because we'll talk about that in a minute, but it is a very linear kind of controlled environment. So it's not like an open world where you sort of you're always generating stuff all the time. So I feel like that's a prime example of a game that could actually come at us at a true 4K at 60 FPS. And then you might have the option to turn off the funky lighting and all the rest of it, which for some reason I'm forgetting the name of it, but you know what I mean. The funky lighting thing. They had it in Resident Evil Village, and you had the option of turning it off. Now I turned it off because I almost immediately after the village part during the village part noticed it get sticky a couple of times. Turned it off, and it was beautiful at 60 FPS without it. Didn't even notice it wasn't there, people. So so they. Well, I'm not actually remembering the order, so I might have to chop and slice the video. I'll have to chop and slice it anyway. But so they did. I'll remember. I'll say this now because I've just mentioned it, so I don't forget. But they are going to expand it, right? So they said what they want to do is they want to stay true to the story because they love the story, right? But they want to make it more immersive, more realistic, and try and expand the Ishimura a bit. Right now, along with this, they also said that there was this kind of intimate, this sort of weird, awkward kind of like, hello, this voice came over the thing, and it was Gunnar Wright who voiced Isaac Clarke in the second game. They're bringing him back, and they are going to give Isaac lines to say in the remake, which I think's great. And that the really cool part is that they actually came up with 2 points, and I've apologize if I forget both of them, but basically they had 2 rules, right? Isaac only talks when he's interacting, and doesn't talk for no reason, right? So there's always got to be a purpose to why he's talking, because the minute that he talks, you get this sense of comfort when there's and it does kind of happen in the second game, because when you're walking around and you're doing certain stuff, he can sort of shout and make noises and blah. So he won't be randomly walking around saying this, that, and the next thing. It will only be to interact with other characters. And what they want to try and do is, because he's the engineer, right? They've got you running around the whole ship to try and fix stuff. And yet he never actually has a conversation with any of them about, why he's the guy that's able to fix it. He should be the guy telling them that this is what he needs to do in order to sort the problem out and all that sort of stuff. So this is where they want to get it better. Let me bang in the microphone. I've probably, hopefully not made my microphone turn off again. So this is the sort of stuff that I was really hoping that they would, because I understood why they kept Isaac silent when they did it, and it kind of worked for its time, but the more you play the game, the more you think, fucking hell, you'd say something with this shit going on. You'd say something if the wife you went to find was suddenly in front of you. You'd say something if a necro was fucking throwing its jaggy bits at you. You'd be saying a lot. So, and you would certainly be saying something to the people that are talking to you. So it kind of has this unreal feel to it. But it was all about, they did it for a purpose. They did it with the intent of making you feel alone and isolated, and but I think bringing it in lightly and only having it when there is these conversations to have with Kendra or Hammond in the few other characters that pitch up, I think that will lend itself well, and maybe a few other splashes if there is a reason for him to say something, and maybe the expanded bits that they do, because they did mention that they've already looked at, like, okay, we've got these linear paths, we've got these places you can go, but we're thinking, well, the Ishimura is bigger than what you saw. You've been to some of the key places, you've been to, so there are all these other rooms and places that we haven't seen. And there's also areas they thought, well, we could expand that, blow that, all sorts of things they can do to give you other objectives, other things to do while you're in there. And I love the idea of that. Like, I really don't want a step-by-step remake, because if I want to play it as it is, I can just play it as it is. And it feels great, and it still plays great. It's not perfect, but it plays great. And, I don't feel like I just want a polished version of that to play all over again. I really want to see what they can do with new gen on this thing. So I'm really excited for that. I'm really excited to see what new elements they feel like they can throw in there. What else do we have, people? I'll write a few notes down. Yeah, very pre-alpha. Yeah, they were saying it's about, they started the project about a year ago, but if you bear in mind, like, when you start a new project, you don't just sit down and coding. You've got to sit in rooms, discuss what you're doing, discuss the plan, come up with a project plan, then you've got to sort of, they did say that they clearly have access to all of the assets and the elements that they need from the original game. So they've been looking at all of those. They're actually building it from the ground up in the new Frostbite engine, and it's so early on. Like, I think that this game is apparently, to a rumor recently, it's supposed to come out in next year at some point, right? Looking at how early this game is on at the moment, I feel like it should be the following year. I don't know. I'd be surprised if within a year, because we're already at the late part of this year now, right? We're into September. And if that's their super alpha game, and I'm not even sure that's a whole, that's not a whole game. That would just be an area they've made. I'm pretty sure that I'd be surprised if this game comes out next year. I don't want it to come out like Jedi Fallen Order did and be all over the place with bugs. Like, I'd rather they really took their time with it, It's whether or not EA give them the chance to do that. But they'd have to be strong and say, no, we want it to be 100% ready, I don't remember any bugs in the original one. Interestingly, in this playthrough I just did, Isaac, it was only one bug in the entire playthrough, but Isaac, you'll see it if you watch the playthrough, Isaac, basically, I'm standing in the lift and I aim my gun while the lift's going down, and I fall through the bottom of the lift and just fall into space. He's just going, ah. Then eventually I died. It took ages to do it, though. It's falling for ages. But yeah, the original game, I don't remember any great bugs with it or anything. So yeah, I mean, about a year's work. I would feel like even on a big remake like that, if they're not, although they've got access to the original assets, don't think they're actually using any of them because they're recreating it all on the Frostbite engine. So, although you've got a template you can kind of work with to copy, well, not physically copy it, but at least on the eye, visually look and copy and make it better. I still think you're looking at a 3 year cycle to make a decent game. I mean, I could be wrong, but if he's saying that they started it about a year ago, I'd be fancying 3 year development time on that. So I don't know, we'll see. But EA seem to push it into their budget calendar for next year or something. So we'll see what happens. But so yeah, here was another really interesting thing. They had the new limb shooting mechanic, right? So they said they want to make this more intense, right? And make it more interesting. So when you are shooting the limbs off it, you can physically see if you're doing damage in that particular limb, and you see the flesh kind of coming off the enemy, and then you get down to the bone. So you know you're nearly there to get through with your plasma cutter or whatever. And they also had like it wasn't just a case of the limbs all falling off. Like they wanted to have the limbs get to a point where maybe the bone had broken, it was just hanging off by its skin, and you can actually grab that from the enemy and fire it at another enemy, which is quite cool. And the kinesis looks like they're bringing although they didn't directly say that they'd brought the kinesis from 2 in, the kinesis in 1 is shit for fighting. Like it's not something you would use in fighting. 2, it's an absolute powerhouse. It's a must if you want to make through that game on hards anyway, because you're not going to get enough ammo. So you need to be using kinesis to fire things at enemies. So from what they were showing us, it did seem to be that, but that was the case. So it was really cool. They had this sort of, it was just like a sport arena where they had this one enemy, which is the more common one, the one that sits behind me over here, behind the lights. But yeah, and they were just showing you the shooting it in all different places, and they were showing the skin sort of peeling away, like the way that they've done because these are humans that have been turned into something else. So you know the biology underneath the skin is all there. That they've been they're doing a really cool job of bringing all that reality into it. And you could even see, like, even on this little test guy they had, like the little arms inside his stomach that are coming out are all moving around and things are chomping, and like it was just really realistic. It was very cool. So I was loving everything they showed us about that. I mean, hell yeah, give us a new shooting mechanic. Absolutely, sorry, a limb shooting mechanic, without any shadow of a doubt. Because there are times, and I'd love that to be more precise as well, because there were times when I was playing that playthrough the other week there, or even yesterday through the weeks though, where I was shooting the shit out of something and it just didn't seem to be doing anything. Like it shouldn't take, with a fully maxed out weapon, it shouldn't be taking 7 shots to take off one arm. You know what I mean? And I could clearly see that I was hitting the arm. Even on an armoured Scorpion, that's a bit heavy, you know what I mean? So, I mean, yeah, I admit, there are times when it's all my fault, but there were times where I thought, this isn't right. It shouldn't be taking this many bullets. So, you know, I feel like the original probably isn't as precise as they are going to make this one, which would be quite cool. And it would be nice to see that on screen, the visible thing that is, I'm nearly at the bone and a couple of shots will get me through the bone, that sort of stuff. Yeah, I mean, this looks like it's going to be incredible. They also showed off, before that actually, they actually showed off the environment itself after Isaac, I think, and he was just walking through a couple of corridors on the Ishimura, and they did a side-by-side where, you know, you had the Ishimura new, Ishimura old, and wow, you know, I mean, the just the metallic surfaces, the grime, they had steam all over the, you know, just floating around the floor, and the ambience was just, wow, really cool. So, you know, visually, this is going to be stunning, I think. If that's the alpha that we're seeing now, or the pre-alpha, I'm really excited about how this game's going to look later on. Another big thing is the zero gravity from 2 is going to be brought into the remake. Now, anyone who's played them knows that zero gravity in the first one, you don't get to fly about. You got magnetic boots and you have to shoot Isaac towards another surface head first, and then he'll link his boots to the floor. So it's kind of a direction, you just scoot, land. Whereas in the second one, you can release your magnetic boots and then just fly about. And they showed that off in this footage of them floating around this room with it was a recognizable room as well, with, magnetic boots off, Isaac floating around exactly like you would in 2. So that's a winner. I know even me, especially me, but a lot of people get seriously disorientated with the other one. I mean, I think to some degree, I feel like they did it on purpose to make it disorientating, to make it more frightening when things are coming at you in zero gravity. Things do get a little bit easier in zero gravity if you are able to fly about like that, So it is interesting that they've sort of thrown it in. Well, it's interesting. I don't know whether the original developer, I'd love to know, I'd love to be able to ask one of them if they thought about putting flying in it, or whether they thought this is scarier, so would rather have this. But then clearly when they went to 2, they thought, okay, it was maybe scarier, but it wasn't very fun. So let's make it flying, and then it's fun. And then you've got, a whole different battle going on where you can move up and down and left and right. The enemies are coming from all around you. But by far, it was far more fun zero gravity flying than it was scooting yourself around. So there were certain areas in that game, in the first one, where you had to use zero gravity, and you were clicking the button to see where you were meant to go. The arrow was, the line was going all the way around the room. You couldn't quite figure it all out. So, yeah, that's a big boon, bringing that in. Yeah, it's interesting that they made a point of mentioning they brought that in, but they didn't actually say that they brought the kinesis from 2 into 1 as well. So I hope that is the case. It certainly looked like the case, but I can't imagine that they wouldn't, because they were talking about shooting limbs into enemies, and if they're going to give you that, they can't give us the version that was in 1, because it just wasn't good enough. So yeah, I think I've covered all of the key points there. Right, new limb, new environment, zero gravity. Yeah. So that was the crux of all of the main parts that I got from the stream that they did, and it was super exciting to see it. And I think to some degree, I don't know if more and more we'll get more openness from developers like that. I think it's different. I think the reason that they do that is because it is a beloved franchise. They don't want to piss people off. They'd rather get the opinions now than after the games come out and realise they've fucked it up. So I think what they're doing is right. I think as time goes on, they'll kind of temper. Well, I think they'll cover all the key points, know that they've covered all the key points, know that they've not missed anything that people were dying for. And if you're watching this video, and I'm sure you never will, but if you are one of the devs from the new Dead Space Remake game from Motive Interactive, please give us the 3 saves only trophy, all right? And don't make the trophies dead easy. I'm done with games that are like, just play through it and you'll get a platinum, or play through it and you'll get 1,000 Gs. Like, give us, like, one of the really cool trophies in the second game was you had to do it with 3 saves or less. And it made it terrifying when you faced enemies, because you knew that you could lose 3 hours of your life and never get it back if one yellow sack jobber came out of a bloody tunnel and you didn't see them, and kaboom, because it's a one-hit kill if you're on Zealot or whatever I'd love that trophy to be brought into the remake. It could be that they just go for the same trophies, but if they're going to put new areas in and all that sort of stuff, they could expand the trophy list and make it better. So I'd love it if you're listening, if you see this or anywhere, or if anyone watching this can get that message to Motive to Motive, please do send them that 3 saves only trophy, please. Yes, please. Oh, I'd love that. It's a challenge, you know what I mean? That's it's a meaty one, that. So it's well worth it. That's for your hardcore fans, that is. Give your hardcore fans a trophy like that they can go for, that is going to be super rare because no one else will be able to be bothered with it. Oh, I've got so much time spent getting those trophies. And I've done it on PS3 and Xbox 360. So, yeah. Whether I do them all over again, I probably I've got them now. I don't want to do it all over again. I might as well wait for the remakes. But, well, you never know. I played the playthrough I've just done. I played on a second Xbox account that I created specifically so that I could get the trophies to achievements to pop up again, because I've already maxed out Dead Space 1 and 2 on the 1000G front for my Steve Gillespie account. So I created a Joystick Steve account ages ago, and I did it on that one. And in fact, when we do come to do 2, because we actually did about a year ago, maybe longer, where we did a live stream with Craigie Boy. I think we did a couple of them where we were playing it through, taking turns. So I do have actually a save for and some of the trophies for the second one. We got quite far into it, I think, as well. But anyway, we'll start it again. It's fine. And we were playing it on Zealot as well, so it was a tough move. I need to decide actually what I'm going to play it on, because in the original one it was just kind of easy, normal, hard. But in this one, you can actually do 4. There's a survivor. There's the normal, easy, normal, survivor, and zealot. You can do all of those straight off the bat. So it'd be whether or not I decide to do it on zealot. Let's see what happens. We can always change it, I suppose, as I'm playing it along. But if I'm doing really badly with my kinesis, I'll not have any ammo. Anyway, but that's it. I mean, I was glad they did the stream. I enjoyed it for the main part. For what it was, and it was nice to see a developer communicating with us like that and giving us tasters, and then letting the community feedback all over the Twitters and you know, the Twitterverses and the everywhere else is that people are now. So yeah, I'm just super excited for it all. I really am. After saying this was going to be a short one, I think I've been rambling on for ages about that actually. Anyway, bring it on, people. If it's next year and it's perfect and it comes out superbly without any bugs, I'll be delighted. But I feel like I want to give them till 2023 and get a nice, sweet, polished experience. So yeah, I'm really excited. I mean, it's definitely going to be a new gen only as well. That. Well, people, a couple of little bits of news that, in fact, there is just. So you know, there is finally a big PlayStation event next, Thursday the 9th at 9 p.m. British Summer Time, so you can work that out for your own countries. So finally, it looks like the PlayStation has come back. Is that copyright? The Rock will have copyrighted my video now, people. Or it was that bad that maybe you didn't. So they're finally doing a major event now that Gamescom's sort of winding down, and it looks like it is a proper beast one as well. So we should get a few surprises in there with a bit of luck. I'm kind of feeling like I felt like maybe we might get some virtual reality 2 stuff in there. Not that I'm that interested in it, but I think they have already said that they won't be doing anything with that this year. I think they've got a lot of development still to do on it. But without any shadow of a doubt, they'll be showing us off some big stuffs there to get PlayStation back in the forefront of things. The last thing we want is another Death Stranding Director's Cut fucking trailer. You know what I mean? It's like enough already. I mean, I love Kojima, and Death Stranding is a very niche type game. It's only for certain people anyway. But I think, you know, it's fine. I understand. And I know you've done hard work on it. But it really shouldn't be the forefront of everything that you're punting everywhere for PlayStation. It should be a side thing, not the main thing. You know, I was a bit surprised that it finished off the opening night live as it should really have been in the middle. Halo release date would have been better as a finisher, really. But anyway, it's nice to know that they're doing one. So you know what next week's video is going to be about. Next week's podcast is all about what happens on the PlayStation event next Thursday. Well, Thursday the 9th. Is that? Yeah, it's next Thursday. 9 p.m. That's at a time I can watch it as well. That's nice. It'd probably be pre-recorded, though, to be fair. Well, you would think. I can't imagine it's going to be live. But anyway, we shall see. Just something from a few weeks ago that I forgot to mention in my last podcast. There's Assassin's Creed Odyssey has got a 60 FPS support now. I think I want to say that that's on FPS Boost, but I think it's just in general a 60 FPS support. I think it was across the board on both consoles. So if you've got a new gen console, you can now get 60 FPS support on the game. That was on the 24th of August that went live. I've never played Assassin's Creed Odyssey, so I shall be... Well, it's supposed to be the best one as well. after my disappointment with Valhalla, which I still haven't played because of all the screen tearing. I know they've tried to fix it now, so I haven't gone back to see if it's okay, but I will get to Valhalla at some point. But everyone told me that Odyssey is still the best one. It's supposed to be an incredible game, that, but I've just never got to play in it. My problem with Assassin's Creed is it kind of isn't what it was. It's just kind of like, where can we set it that we haven't set it before, and give people a whole new world of things to go and do, and it just isn't. I just find it not very interesting in all of the things that they ask you to do. So they make this humongous RPG, which is what they've become, and just give you things that aren't particularly interesting to do in the world. Unlike The Witcher 3, which gave you just about every quest you did was super interesting with a great backstory. I mean, it was just brilliant. And it's probably the one RPG that stands out as the one that could teach all of the others about interest's sake, about how to make a quest interesting. I mean, the lore and the stories in that game were just superb. They really were fantastic. But yeah, Assassin's Creed was interesting when it was all about the apple. I think the apple still makes an appearance from time to time, but you know, when it was back in the day, the original Assassin's Creed was superb, but that wasn't Ezio. What was his name? Assassin's Creed 2 was superb. Assassin's Creed, mind blank. You know the one I mean. It was also good, the one after that. And that was Ezio as well. Ezio went on for years, man. That man must have been 100 time that game time he finished up. But yeah, the more it went away from the apple, the more it went away from that kind of stuff and the purposes of it all, and just went into new characters and new worlds. I think it just kind of became... I mean, there was the London one, wasn't there, that I've never played. Yeah, I mean, I played a bit of the Egyptian one, Origins, played a bit of that, but that was kind of, Origins was kind of when it all really changed, wasn't it? Into this kind of format we have now. So I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but if you're going to give us a massive world, you got to make it super interesting when you tell us to go and do something. Not just clear that island, get a loot chest, clear that island, get a loot chest. Like, give us some fucking story that's interesting people in the quests and stuff. So, you know, I mean, I'm probably mixing decent side story with, just general questing. But anyway, yeah, you know what I'm saying, people. You know what I'm saying. What else? We had a final point there. Yeah, a few weeks back, there was a story about a man/woman, because I don't know, I didn't see whether it was man or woman, but apparently the person that modded Fallout 3, I think it was, Fallout 4. Oh, I can't remember now. But one of the Fallout, it's Fallout London modder, basically turned Fallout into London as opposed to where it was. And it did such a good job that Bethesda have actually hired them as a quest writer. So, it goes to show you, people, if you do stuff in your spare time and do it super well, you could end up working in the industry, people. Yes, you could. I need to get myself programming. Hey? You get me right in the next Last of Us? Woo! Who doesn't want to see that happen, eh? Nobody, that's who. Well, there you are, people. I have actually, as I always do, tell you it's going to be a short one, and I've rambled on for absolutely ages. But that is all I have to talk about. Well, I hope that was of interest to all of you, but at least some of you, to see and have a little bit of a poke around with me into that session that was Dead Space, which is what most of this has been about. I am super excited for it, and I can't wait to see more. It has been, yes, it has, an honour and a privilege serving for you in this podcast of mine today, and I shall see you in the next one, folks. Take it easy. Bye.